That's enough of that. Hello and welcome to the Aunty Lisa show. Let's see what we'll do a story about today. From the silver bag we have Superman. The Hares of Havoc. From the pink bag we have Owen. And Captain Barnacles. Wait a second, I forgot to put us back in. And Aunty Lisa, Aleksander and Kristoffer, obviously. Dear oh dear. Standards are slipping. Places. Let's find an interesting place to go. The disco. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ain't nobody going to the disco at the moment. Do I want that way? In the bag of random things. Jack's beach buggy. That's not that random. That's cool. Okay. What is in there? Oh! There we are. That's us. Aleksander, Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa. Lovely. Well, I mean, this seems like the good makings of a story. One day, Kristoffer, Aleksander and Aunty Lisa thought it would be fun to go to the disco. So they put on their best clothes. That's very important when you go to disco. And Aunty Lisa did something nice with her hair. And they were all ready to go to the disco. And so off they went. Wow. Would you believe, actually, at the disco, they bumped into the Hares of Havoc. They were at the disco. They were throwing some moves like ooh, 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 ish, ish, ish. Just like that. And they were like, hey, Hares of Havoc, what are you doing here? And they were like, well, even bikers got to get down. Ooh, ooh. And so everybody was dancing like crazy and having the best time. When all of a sudden something quite peculiar happened at the disco. Suddenly the music stopped. And they were not playing a game of musical chairs or musical bumps. So this was not good news. So the music stopped and everyone went, oh, turn the music back on, will ya? But nobody turned the music back on. And so they all stood around going. And then all the lights went off. And they all went, ooh, I can't see anything. Uh-oh, this is really scary stuff. And then Aleksander and Kristoffer got out their night vision goggles. And they looked around. And they went, OMG. And Aunty Lisa went, what? What is it? What is it? And they went, oh no. You won't believe it. They said, we think that there is a ghost in the disco and he's turned off all of the music and all of the lights. He must be a very grumpy ghost. Doesn't like noisy people. And they looked a little bit close with their night vision goggles and they went, oh no. Oh dear. It's a really, really, really grumpy ghost. And he's coming this way. And the ghost appeared. Like this. And everybody went, ah! Now, Aleksander and Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa are pretty used to ghosts, actually. But even this one scared them because it was the ghost of the grumpiest teacher that had ever lived. Ever. And the teacher went, "What do you lot think you're doing in here? Playing all this loud music. You're very naughty and you all got to go to see the headmaster." And Aleksander and Aunty Lisa and Kristoffer went, "We don't like the sound of that. Wait, we know how to get rid of ghosts. Surely we can get rid of this ghost." But before they could do anything, the ghost has stomped off. And they went, "Okay, well maybe that's the last we'll see of that ghost. Phew. Well, I think that's killed the mood." And so they left. And they all wandered out of the disco. Everyone just shut the doors and they set off for home. Then, on the way home, they bumped into Superman. And Superman looked really sad, actually. And they said, "Hey, Superman, why are you looking so sad?" Superman went, "I don't want to talk about it." And I said, "No, come on, you can tell us. It's okay." And Superman went, "I bumped into the grumpiest teacher that ever lived. And he said I wasn't allowed to fly anymore. He said it's only for silly little boys. I'm not allowed to fly. He's going to tell my mum." And Aleksander and Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa said, "What? The grumpiest teacher that ever lived told you not to fly, Superman? This needs dealing with. We'll have to see if we can track him down. Right, so now we're on a mission, Superman, because nobody should be able to tell you you can't fly. And it's not just for little boys. Everybody enjoys flying, okay?" Superman went, "Okay. I'm not going to tell my mum, is he?" And Aunty Lisa said, "Very unlikely. We'll sort it out. All right?" Anyway, so then they carried on their way home. And who should they bump into on their way home but Owen? And Owen looked really sad. And he was crying a bit. And he was... And Aleksander and Aunty Lisa and Kristoffer and Superman said, "Hey, Owen, what's wrong? We've never seen you look so sad. Is one of your dinosaurs sick?" And Owen said, "No." And they said, "What is it, Owen? Just tell us, spit it out." And Owen said, "Well, I bumped into the scariest, most grumpiest teacher that ever lived today. And he said that dinosaurs were just for little boys. And I can't play with them anymore. What am I going to do?" And Aleksander and Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa and Superman said, "This is not on. There is no age limit on loving dinosaurs, okay? We'll deal with that grumpiest teacher that ever lived. We will deal with him. He said we were being too noisy at the disco. But it was a disco. That's where you can be noisy." Well, he's got one bad thing coming towards him. Anyway, so then they all started walking off together. Oh, quite emotional. And who should they bump into? Captain Barnacles. Captain Barnacles was sat on the beach throwing stones into the sea. And Aleksander and Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa and Owen and Superman said, "Hey, Captain Barnacles, what's wrong?" Captain Barnacles said, "Well, okay. I bumped into the grumpiest teacher that ever lived. And he told me that saving little fish and things was just silly and I should get a proper job. Oh, what am I going to do? I thought what I was doing was worthwhile. Aleksander and Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa and Owen and Superman said, what? But what you do is amazing. Think of all the animals you've looked after. This grumpy teacher has... Oh, he has gone too far this time. Right. I think we need reinforcements. So they set off towards... towards... I've forgotten her name. Towards JP... It's not JP. JB. JB's lab. They set off for JB's lab because JB is the best ghost hunter out there. That's right. They were on their way to JB's lab when they bumped into the Hares of Havoc again. And they were not their usual upbeat selves. They were just sat next to their bikes. They weren't even riding them. They were just too sad. And everyone said, hey, Hares of Havoc, we just saw you at the disco and we lost you. What happened? And they said, the grumpiest teacher in the whole world that ever lived. He told us off for riding motorbikes. He said they're silly and that we shouldn't ride motorbikes. We should just drive cars instead. But we really love riding motorbikes. But he said we're not allowed anymore. And everyone, Superman, Aleksander, Kristoffer, Aunty Lisa, Owen and Captain Barnacles said, whoa there, Hares of Havoc. Riding motorbikes is what you live for. We are off to see JB. You going to come with us? And the Hares of Havoc said, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Well, off they went to JB and they were walking quite fast by now when who should they bump into but Jack on his beach buggy. Jack was just... well, it was the sorriest sight you could ever possibly see, Jack. He was sat next to his beach buggy, well, kind of slumped over it, just sighing like this. And everyone said, what happened, Jack? Jack said, I was just telling all my viewers online. I've got to quit ghost hunting. And I'm not allowed to ride my beach buggy anymore because it's just a big toy for kids. But it's not a big toy for kids. It's really cool, even for big kids like me. And everyone went, right, Jack. Not you as well. Cannot have the grumpiest teacher that ever lived pulling you down. We're off to see JB. You coming? And off they went to see JB. When they got to JB's lab, they saw JB and Parker and they were just sat throwing tennis balls in the air, just like this. And the tennis balls were just bouncing off their heads because they were too depressed to pick them up. It was a sorry, sorry sight. And everyone said, what was it? Was it the grumpiest teacher that ever lived? And they went, he said that ghosts aren't silly. And ghosts aren't even real. And well, they are, aren't they? They're not just for kids, are they? Even big kids can... No? And Aleksander and Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa said, look, we know this guy. He has ruined everybody's day so far. I think we need to sort him out between us. And you know what he is? He's not even alive. He's a ghost. And JB went, I knew it. Oh, he shouldn't have got that past me. I should have known he was a ghost. And Aleksander and Kristoffer said, yes, because he was invisible, but we saw him with our special night vision goggles and then he came out of the gloom and he was a ghost. He's not even a real teacher. He's just an old, gone, dead horrible one from hundreds of years ago when they could just tell everyone off all the time and not even be nice ever. And he's just really, really grumpy, probably because he's a ghost and he can't do all of these fun things anymore. So I think we should teach him a lesson. And everyone went, yeah! Right, how are we going to catch him? And they said, well, I don't know. But then they had an idea. They said, let's do all of the things that the most grumpiest teacher ghost that ever lived hates. And he will have to come down and tell us off. And then we'll catch him. Yeah? And they went, yeah, let's do this. So, out in the middle of the day, they had a massive disco party. That was task number 1, with big ooh, ooh music playing. The Hares of Havoc sat on their motorbikes like, but for safety reasons didn't drive around people because it's dangerous. And Owen brought some of his best baby dinosaurs out with little ear defenders so they didn't get scared of the music. And Captain Barnacles brought some of his friends from the octopod along, and some of the sea creatures visited that would like to go on land, like penguins. And Superman just flew round in circles, and Jack got on his beach buggy, and that's where he played the music from. Because it's a cool beach buggy, and beach buggies should always have a big sound system on the back. Ooh, 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 ooh. And everyone was going, way, ooh, ooh, having the best time ever. It was so much fun. And then out of the distance came, what's all this noise? Didn't I tell you you're too old to play with dinosaurs, Owen? And didn't I tell you, Captain Barnacles, that it's just silly playing with sea creatures and rescuing them? You should just eat them, they're food. And didn't I tell you, Jack, that beach buggies were just for little kids and it's a silly toy and you are too big for silly toys? And didn't I tell you, Superman, stop that flying around, stop that flying around. And Aunty Lisa, your dancing is, stop that dancing. Far too much jolly. Turn down that music, it's outrageous. And JB, don't you even think about pointing that ghost-trapping zapper at me. And not you either, Parker. I'm watching you. But then, pew, 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 they all zapped him. And he went, no! And he got sucked over to the hidden side, where, quite frankly, anyone that grumpy belongs. And then, when he was there, he spent entire eternity telling off all the other people on the hidden side. Like Lady E, she got told off for having a silly hat. And that big teddy bear guy, he got told off for being a teddy bear. And everyone got told off. And so he spread misery throughout the hidden side. It was, frankly, amazing. And then everybody who was on the real side, not the hidden side, who was there, Owen and Captain Barnacles and Jack and JB and Parker and Superman and Hares of Havoc and Aleksander, Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa all went, hooray! And they said, you know what? There is no age limit on dinosaurs. There is no age limit on caring for sea creatures. There is no age limit on playing with beach buggies. There's no age limit or silliness limit, well, maybe a slight silliness limit on motorbikes. Be careful and wear a helmet. There's no limit to being noisy at a disco party. That's where you're allowed to be noisy. Not a library, disco party. And Superman, there's no age limit or silliness limit on flying because, frankly, you're very good at flying and you often save the day. And everybody said, oh, thank goodness. And Aunty Lisa said, you know what else there's no age limit on? Hugs! And everybody had an enormous hug. And it was the best day ever. And then they had an ice cream because every story should have an ice cream in it. And that is the end of the story. Love you. Bye-bye.